Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something I guarantee you've experienced, probably already today. You know that exact second the room goes quiet, and suddenly, bam, you're reaching for your phone? We're going to look closely at the hidden architecture behind that habit, pulling directly from the work of computer scientist Cal Newport. So if you've been feeling this kind of lingering sense of distraction lately, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down exactly what's happening to our focus, and more importantly, how we can systematically rebuild the whole shebang.
Just picture yourself in a tiny pocket of downtime. It's a totally ordinary scenario, right? Maybe you're waiting in line for a cup of coffee, or you're just standing alone in an empty elevator. For a split second, there's absolutely nothing demanding your attention. But in that tiny pocket of silence, you feel it. It's this sudden, sharp restlessness, a vague anxiety you can't really put your finger on. And before you even consciously realize what you're doing, your phone is already right there in your hand. You didn't actively decide to pick it up. It's not like you're waiting on an urgent email from the president. It just happened, as naturally as breathing.
So what does this all mean? Well, you might tell yourself you're just checking the time, or maybe looking for a quick message. But let's be real about what's actually happening here. You aren't just checking in. You're experiencing anxiety because your brain now literally views stillness as a threat to be escaped. Honestly, you are terrified of silence. You're fleeing that quiet space because your mind has been biologically rewired to completely reject the absence of stimulus. Crazy, right?
And this brings us to the stories we tell ourselves. We rely on these protective lies like, oh, I'm just being efficient, or I'm a super busy person, or I just hate being bored. We use these phrases to protect a mental structure we haven't really questioned yet. But the structural reality, it's far more uncomfortable. Actually, scratch that, it's a tough pill to swallow. You aren't being efficient, you are actively fleeing the silence. This really isn't about time management at all. It's straight up avoidance.
This leads us to an absolutely crucial concept from Cal Newport, who has spent years studying the architecture of focus. He calls this atrophied attention. Think of it almost like a literal medical diagnosis. Your attention didn't just vanish because you lack character or have some personality flaw. No way. The muscle of your presence has physically weakened. Why? Because it adapted perfectly to the frantic, high-stimulus environment you put it in.
Think about it this way. For years, you've inadvertently been in the gym just lifting weights, but training the distraction muscle while letting your capacity for presence completely atrophy. Every single compulsive phone check, every constant tab switch on your browser, these were just reps. Repetitions that retrained your brain away from depth. So your brain hasn't failed you at all. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do in a world of constant noise.
Now, recognizing this dynamic is absolutely vital, because willpower simply does not beat multi-billion-dollar design. It's a totally unfair fight. You're relying on sheer internal effort to resist a screen, but that screen represents an environment engineered at enormous expense by some of the smartest minds in the world to demand and capture your attention. If the phone is near you, sitting right there on your desk, it was engineered to be checked, and you will check it for sure. Acknowledging this mismatch is the first real step toward breaking the trap.
Okay, so now that we have the diagnosis, we need a cure, right? Enter Newport's boredom protocol. This consists of 4 concrete, ground-up steps designed to completely rebuild your internal foundation. We're looking at the cheap alarm clock, a 30-day digital declutter, scheduled distraction, and productive meditation. Let's break these down.
The very first move is entirely physical, and it actually starts before you even open your eyes. Step 1. Banish the phone from your bedroom completely and buy a cheap standalone alarm clock. Leave the phone in another room at night. Why? Well, so the very first thing you touch in the morning isn't the most distracting object ever created. You need to wake up into the silent, unmediated space where your own thoughts actually live, rather than being immediately hijacked by a digital stimulus before your feet even hit the floor.
That brings us to step 2, which is the hard reset, a 30-day digital declutter. This is a strict 30-day window where you strip away all optional digital technology from your life. That means no social media, no news feeds, and absolutely no passive scrolling. The entire goal of this window is to forcefully interrupt your behavioral loop long enough for your brain to reset. It needs to remember what it actually feels like to exist without a constant dripping dopamine hit. But, you can't just leave a massive void. During this detox, you have to actively replace the screen with what Newport calls unmediated experience. Go read a physical book and actually feel the paper pages turning in your hands. Take a walk outside without your earphones, just tuning into the ambient noise of your neighborhood. Eat a meal and just taste the food in complete silence. You do these things to actively remind your brain and your nervous system what real life feels like when it isn't filtered through a glowing rectangle.
Moving on to step 3,
Scheduled distraction. Instead of spending all day exhausting your willpower trying to fight the urge to check your phone, you can find its use to a specific, predetermined window. Maybe it's just 1 hour in the evening. Outside of that window, it is not available. Period. During the day, when the urge to check it rises, and trust me, it definitely will, you learn to not negotiate with your urges. You sit with the physical discomfort of boredom. You let it wash over you, just until it passes and gives way to a profound, steady presence.
Finally, we have step 4. Here we use a technique called productive meditation. You do this during physical, rote tasks, like washing the dishes, folding laundry, or going for a walk. You intentionally bring your full attention to one specific, complex problem you need to solve. Think of it like doing reps at the gym again. When your mind inevitably wanders off, you gently catch it and redirect it back to the problem. That continuous cycle of catching and returning, that is the actual bicep curl for rebuilding your neural pathways of focus.
Implementing this protocol forces a fundamental shift in how we live. Right now, by constantly fleeing silence, so many of us are living at a slight remove from ourselves. We're just kind of managing a frantic checklist of notifications and quick tasks. But reclaiming your attention, that pulls you away from that anxious surface level and guides you back down into truly, deeply inhabiting your days.
Because guys, the hardest truth of this whole explainer is simply this. Attention is the medium through which you experience your own life. It's not just some cool productivity hack. If your attention is fragmented, well then your relationships are fragmented. The people sitting across the table from you are getting a fragmented version of you. Your capacity to sit with something beautiful, to enjoy art, or to truly understand yourself, all of it is fragmented too.
Reclaiming that silent space isn't about stepping into some empty void. It is stepping into the only place where your life actually happens. The version of yourself currently buried under all the noise, that version deserves your presence. So I want to leave you with this final thought. When did you choose depth over a reflex today?